I just made a big bet on the recent stock dip, over $35,000. I just invested in one company on the dip. Now I was sitting there. I have a very high conviction company that I've been talking about very frequently. If you've been following this channel, you probably already know what I'm going to talk about. We saw a big dip today, and I was sitting there and I was thinking, this is it. This is the moment. This is the make or break, I should say. This video is either going to age very well or very poorly, and either way, I guess it'll be entertaining for the viewers out there. So if you can do one thing on this video, just get your free stocks and your free crypto with the links in the description. That'll make me feel a little bit better about the decisions that I just made today. So let's dive into what exactly I bought more than $35,000 worth of today, and that is Palantir. So a couple days ago, I went all in on an analysis of Palantir. I went into this analysis not really expecting much. I know that there was some hype around it. I know that there were people interested, but by the end of the analysis, I was like, wow, this is a pretty darn impressive company that I'm going to invest some cash into. And if I see some dips, I'm just going to invest more and more cash. And those dips came. So I wanted to show you a little bit about a little bit of my adventure here so far with my investments. You can see a total of $35,904.58 just in Palantir stock. So let's go through the process that I took. My first purchase was on the 3rd of March. I bought just 50 shares for $24.37 a share. That was just to kind of dip my toes in, to see how the water felt. And right after that, the price went down a little bit, and I bought another 50 shares because I was like, oh, I'll buy the dip. My plan was to spread this out over several days. If it went down a little bit, I'd buy some. If it went up, I'd be like, whatever. I was actually kind of hoping that it didn't go up in the next few days because I knew I wanted to buy a decent amount of this. So I bought 50 more shares. And then after that, we can see still on the 3rd, I bought another 50 shares. It went up a little bit. Maybe I had a little bit of FOMO. I don't know. I just wanted to buy some more. It still seemed like an okay price, so I bought some more. And then we still on the 3rd, and I bought 100 more shares for $24.12. And then the same day, I bought another 100 shares because the price dipped a little bit down to $23.70. So now I'm getting a decent portfolio. And this is actually when I was on Matt Core's channel. We did a little challenge where I ended up buying some stock, and I ended up buying Palantir because of that. And then that brings us to the next day, where I'm not sure how this happened, but I guess it was 2 shares. I don't remember doing this. I think it was actually split between, like, one transaction got split because you can see 48 and 2. I was back up to 24 bucks, and I was like, I'll still buy some more because I wanted to keep adding to this position. It didn't jump up too much in price from the day before, and this was also in part because on the 3rd in the afternoon in the post market, the price went up like 8%, and I was thinking, oh man, I didn't buy enough because this thing's going to stay up 8%, and then it went down the next day in open market. So I bought some more. I bought that 50 shares, and that was it for that day. Now this brings us to today, where I may have gone a little bit crazy on my investments today. So at market open, I bought 100 shares at 23 bucks. That actually lowered my cost basis down a little bit. I think it was around high 23s, low 24s at that point when I bought this. And let me show you the chart for today, just so we can get an idea of what's going on. So my first purchase was right away. We saw a little bit of a dip. So I bought some, and then I bought another 100 shares shortly after because there was a significant price dip down to $21.91, and this thing was just running down. $21.91. I zoomed out on the charts and I was like, we haven't seen prices this low since like November. I mean, really, we've hardly ever seen prices this low. I was like, I'll buy some more. And then I'm thinking, oh, I don't know if this thing is going to stay this low, so I should maybe buy some more after that. So then I bought another 100 shares at $21.62. It went down a little bit lower. And then I was like, you know what, I should buy some more. And it went up a little bit, bought 150 shares at $22.47 for $3,300. And then I bought another 150 shares at 22 bucks. Then I bought another 150 shares at $21.96, and then I bought another 200 shares at $21.75, and that was for $4,351. And that's when I thought that I was done. I thought, okay, I've done all my buying. I was over $30,000. That was kind of my target, to eventually buy $30,000 worth of this. And then we saw this. we saw this dip down to almost the teens. It was so close to hitting the teens. It was at the very low 20s. I was like, oh, I gotta buy some more. And there wasn't even any cash in my brokerage account. I made another order, had a transfer from the bank, and I bought both of these. So I first bought this 2164 when it was running down, and then I made one last order, and it looks like it settled right at 21 bucks. So I can't complain too much. And my average share price is now $22.44. So compared to the current prices, even though we're still down 10% for the day, I'm sitting pretty good because I'm only down 0.5% right now. But I should say, I don't really care what this thing does in the short term. This is a long-term investment for me. I know it's going to be extremely volatile. I could wake up tomorrow and see this thing 20% down. I'd probably just buy more, to be honest. I wouldn't even look at the number that I lost on paper, because this is a very high conviction trade for me. So let's talk a little bit about why this is so high conviction for me. And I have an entire video that breaks down everything you need to know. So I'll just pin that above if you want more details. But for a brief overview here, the first thing I want to talk about is the steady growth. So we saw 47% growth in last year compared to the year before in top line revenue, which was very impressive to me, and it was above the expectations. Also, there's a very strong management team and ownership around this. The founders of this company are very strong, very talented. Peter Thiel, I mean, he is an absolute madman, genius, co-founder of PayPal. It seems like everything this man touches turns to gold. Of course, people can fail, but the management team was very impressive when I was digging into this. Also, they have a very interesting business model with a combination of governments and very large businesses like Fortune 500 businesses. And one thing I noticed with their contracts, especially on the business end, their customers are increasing their spend every single year at Palantir. Every single year, each individual customer, how much they spend increases. This tells me that Palantir is offering a very valuable service if businesses are willing to spend more and more each year. If you're confused about what Palantir does, get in line, because it seems like almost everyone is confused about what they do. But basically, at least one thing that they do on the business end is they can turn an inherently dumb business, like a non-tech business, for instance, into a kind of AI machine. And they do that by taking data points from pretty much everything in the business and building this data model of a business, and allows that business to make smart decisions like a high-tech company would. And they also fight fraud in other ways to either save money or earn more money. And basically how it works is, if you were to sign up your business with Palantir, your Fortune 500 business, and they save you $500 million, you're probably going to be willing to pay Palantir $100 million for those services. So that it just seems to me like once they have their grips on a company, they just stay, and that company just keeps on giving them more money because that company is benefiting. And also, no one is doing it quite like them. It's hard to do a competitor analysis because there's really no one who's doing the exact same thing. Now, they have conservative revenue projections of 30% for the next year and a goal of $4 billion in sales for 2025. Some potential concerns with this company, because of course there are potential concerns. This is a growth company and nothing is guaranteed here. I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own diligence. Here's a concern. Even after the recent haircut in price today that we saw, it's at 10% loss right now. It was as high as 15% loss earlier. Even after that, it could be considered overvalued. And typically I wouldn't jump into a company that I think is overvalued. However, I just don't see the price of this going much lower. Even though the price to sales is fairly high, I just don't see it going much lower. There's also concerns with what they do with data, if there's some privacy concerns and things like that. So that's up to you if this is a company that concerns you on that end. They also have fairly opaque contracts that some clients have argued doesn't give them enough information about what exactly Palantir does. And they also have a heavy reliance on the US government. Now, some people see that as a good thing. Some people see that as a potential concern. Of course, you don't want to rely any significant portion of your revenue on one source of income. If you had to rely on one, the US government probably isn't a bad one, especially when they're spending money on safety and defense, which we all know the US government loves to spend money on. So for me, this is a long-term hold, but I know, and I'm completely at peace with the fact that it's going to very likely be a bumpy road ahead. I've already accepted the possibility of a short-term 30% reduction in price on any given day. Now, do I think that that's likely to happen? No, but I've accepted the possibility of it for a longer term 5 to 7x increase in stock price. Now, I believe if they can hit their conservative revenue projections of 30% growth this year, we'll see a share price of at least $33. And if they hit their $4 billion sales goal in 2025, which seems reasonable to me, we'll see a stock price of at least $114. And that's going to do it. If you like this kind of content, let me know. If you like these maybe potentially chaotic decisions and documentation of it, let me know below. Make sure you like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, have a profitable day.